It is said that we should all live a life most full. Of course, that's something that is easier said than done in most instances. But every now and again, we stumble across someone who inspires, someone who finds their way onto the track and then rolls at full steam into life and shows those of us watching the true value of a dream. This is the story of one such individual. A young boy of humble beginnings from Alabama who has consistently realized his dreams and is continuing to do just that. This is the story of Bobby Shelton, a life on track. Bobby Shelton grew up as a young boy in Alabama. He was like a lot of kids in the South at the time, a large working family in a small home and not necessarily teetering on the wealthy end. But this ended up being just the right thing to spark what would be a lifelong pursuit of creativity, not to mention an early entrepreneurial spirit. But it never stopped Bobby. In fact, it made him even more tenacious in his pursuits. And in his late teens, Bobby made a decision that would change his whole life: the railroad.
I went to high school in Coleman, Alabama. Had a lot of fun during those years. And I met a good group of people that we became friends during those years and then went on to be lifelong friends. We still get together today and still see each other and kind of keep each other in check. It's a group of professionals and some businessmen, but we still treat each other the way we did back during the high school days. And
Bobby was like myself and a lot of the guys. We were football players and we were big guys, but we were kind of shy. Now, we weren't shy around each other, but we were really shy around girls. So that was always interesting to see the interaction when we were in the hall and we were trying to talk to a girl, or Bobby was trying to talk to a girl. And that's something that we had to kind of figure out. You know, we were big, tough guys, but when you got us around a girl, we get really shy real quick. Bobby especially.
Well, again, I started playing football with Bobby in the 5th grade, so, you know, there were a number of years there we were on the same team, and he was always the biggest guy on the team. He wasn't necessarily the baddest guy on the team, but Bobby was always out there and always practicing hard and working hard. He never got discouraged and was a great teammate because he was so much fun to be around. And I think I said earlier, Bobby, because he was so big, could have kind of been a bully type, but he really wasn't. And I think that kind of just lends to the fact that Bobby's really a big-hearted, tender-hearted guy. And I think that's one reason we're still friends after all these years, at least in my case, is that he's always been a tender-hearted guy.
He started to college but after high school, but he decided that wasn't his thing. He just didn't want to go to school anymore.
after high school, I went to college one semester in Jacksonville State University and decided that wasn't for me. And so I came back home and went to work at a plant in Coleman, Alabama as a shipping receiving clerk. And then I had a friend that his father worked for the railroad company, and he told us one day that they were hiring.
He hired on with the railroad, and of course he was very popular, his size, what he could lift, what he could do, and I mean it was really manual work at the beginning. Anyway, he worked there for quite a long time, made lots of friends, made lots of contacts, and before you know it, he decided he would start a railroad construction business himself.
And within a few years, I was pretty ambitious. I worked my way up to become a foreman of a 58-man crew after about 3 years. And then I saw a need for a contractor status where the railroad would only work on their own tracks that they owned, and if it was an industry-owned track, then they had to find somebody to do that if they had problems. So I started doing railroad repairs on the side for industry work, and that soon became my passion. And after about 8 years of doing that work on the side and working for the railroad also, then I had to give up one or the other. So I decided to go into the railroad contracting full time and quit the railroad in 1986 and never looked back.
The entrepreneur inside him to come out and be able to create his own business and take what he was doing and being paid for as an employee of the railroads, and then take that and open his own business and be so successful at it. You know, that's somebody that, you know, a lot of people have good ideas, but to be able to take those ideas and develop them and run with them and make them successful, that's really impressive.
To see him, come up and really learn those skills by the School of Hard Knocks and just by experience and a real, he's got a management style that I don't think they teach in school, and it's very effective, I think, for particularly for construction crews. The way he talks to men and manages men, he can do it.
I had been on a couple of little pieces of equipment over the, my years. I said, well, what are we supposed to do? We don't have an operator, and he said, well, have you ever drove a track hoe before? And I said, no. He said, well, you about to learn. And I said, okay. So he said, I want you to climb up on there and get up there and just play with the controls on it. And but I got to have that equipment moving. He said, I'm paying $9,000 a week to have all this equipment out there, and I can't afford for, us to go try to find another operator.
Well, he's real good-hearted. He's give a lot of fellas a job that couldn't get a job probably anywhere else. When a lot of places you got to have a high school education or a GED or something. There's been a lot of folks come and go from here that didn't have either. They come here and work for years at a time till they might find something better or move on, because this job not an easy job. It's outside every day in the weather. But Bobby Shelton been good to a lot of people, and I'll be one of them. He gave me a job several years ago, and I worked for him a long time and really enjoy being around him. We still get together now and have a big time. But
myself, I've had the same job for 40 years. And for me to venture out and try something different, it would be kind of frightening for me, because I know what I'm good at, and I enjoy my job. And Bobby, he'll do this and be great at it, and then he'll go do something else, like the motorcycles. He'll go do real estate, or he'll do his railroad company, and now he's doing singing and doing so well with it.
Bobby Shelton go do anything. He's every kind of business venture you can think of, he's took it one time or another. He wanted to. He's not anybody that's happy being right where he's at. He, for example, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago, he wanted his pilot's license where he could fly around and check all this stuff out with old railroads. He put in the time and he got those licenses. And he kept them a while and decided that wasn't really what he wanted, so he let that lay. And he's been in the motorcycle business, he's been in the railroad business. Bob Shelton pretty much done it all.
I got into motorcycles in the early 90s when Harley Davidsons were so hard to get. They were like a 2-year waiting list. And I bought them and brought them back and decided that I would just ride whichever one I wanted to ride and then sell the rest of them. And that was in September of 1994, and by Christmas of that year, I'd sold 34 out of my garage. So I decided I would go into the business of buying and selling motorcycles, and decided to open up a shop adjacent to my railroad construction business, which I did was a supply and demand game and wouldn't last very long. But anyway, we stayed open 2.5 years and sold over 400 bikes in that period of time.
And it's just like he can change gears and go into something different and be so successful, and I couldn't do that.
The thing about Bobby, he was able to have several different outlets, so where even if he went off and had an investment maybe that didn't work out real well, say in real estate, he still had his railroad business that he had been so successful at that he could always kind of fall back on, and then he would find a sideline like the motorcycle business, which he was only in really a short time, but he saw a need for it, did well at it, and then got out of it because he was smart enough to understand what the market was doing. So he just, again, he had a great head for business. I mean, I had a business degree from the University of Alabama, but I don't think I could even come close to having the business mind that Bobby Shelton has. So great in that respect.
The real estate business got started as a need. My oldest son had opened up a mobile home dealership, and he needed a place to put the mobile homes where he could sell them on a piece of property. So we decided to develop a mobile home subdivision, and when we got in the middle of it, a lot of home builders kept driving by and asking what we were going to do, and so they convinced us that we would turn around, and instead of making a mobile home lot or a mobile home subdivision, we were building site-built homes.
So first subdivision and all we did went really well. As after we got completion of it, or we're starting to wind down, he's like, we're doing pretty good. He said, you want to do this some more? I'm like, yeah. And he said, well, I found another piece of land. And so
we finished one subdivision up, and then I sold my remaining portion over to my son, which he built the rest of the house in the subdivision. And I started another big subdivision, and we got just started with it when things really went bad in 05, 06, 07, and 08. It started with the Hurricane Katrina, and then it went on to the housing market falling out and interest going crazy. So that ended up that deal with a huge loss.
That subdivision was right at the end. We were trying to peak right at the time about when the housing market crashed. And so, I don't know, he said he probably had, like $500,000 and it just tanked. I mean, nothing was selling, nothing was going on. He's like, well, he said, I guess I'm gonna have to throw the towel in on this one, So he went in and he had to auction off everything, and I don't know exactly what the number was that he lost, but Bobby lost a lot of money on that. And I remember talking to him after the auction when it was all said and done, and I said, man, I'm so sorry, that this has happened. And he just looked at me and he smiled and he said, man, we gave it a good shot, and he said, 4 or 5 more years, he said, I'll be back on top. He said, I'm not worried about it. I said, we tried it. We gave it our best shot, and don't you worry about me. He said, I'm gonna be all right. And I said, well, I know you will, Bobby. I know you will.
Bobby Shelton, somebody's got a lot of drive about him. He's pretty much always known where he's going, and he know how to get there. He ain't never been want to be no dragger around. He gonna get out there and get it. And if you ain't willing to get in there and get it with him, you just might well go on down the road because he don't have time for you. But now he is a good-hearted person. You do him right, and I'll guarantee he'll do you right.
If he gets ready to do something, he's going to do it, and it's real easy with Bobby. He will either lead, follow, get out of the way. He don't mind you leading, but you better lead, because if you don't, he will surpass you and be the leader, because that's just the kind of personality he has. And again, what was so interesting about that in my mind is that personality didn't start showing until probably his senior year in high school. And then, that's to me what has brought him to the success he's had in the railroad business, and also in his singing career and in his motorcycle career.
Yeah, Bobby's like a second dad to me. He pretty much had me under his wings, and we really tight. I can't think of nothing that me and Bobby's ever been into it about. We've never had an argument, never had an argument, or he's got on to me. Now, I've done some stuff to deserve a butt chewing, but he always says I beat myself up, so he didn't have to.
And I guarantee you, right now to this day, I could pick up the phone, and if there was something that I needed that I knew Bobby had, or could help me with, he would do it right then. He's just that kind of guy. I mean, once you're friends with Bobby, you're friends with him for life, and he'll do whatever he can to help you.
The bus ride home was fun because we won the game, first playoff win ever, and we were having a good time. I don't think we had any liquor on the bus. I'm surprised we didn't. Somebody didn't sneak it on. But in the den of all the laughing and enjoying, listening to music and just having a good time, I hear this voice of Bobby Shelton kind of rise above the den, singing a song to the tune of Jesus Christ Superstar. But those weren't exactly the words he was singing. He was singing, and I think I've got this recall right. There was a boy on the team, he was a sophomore, but he probably should have been a senior because I think he had failed a couple of grades, named Tommy Holt. And we all loved to pick on Tommy Holt. He was a tough kid, but a little thick between the ears, I guess you'd say, Shane.
A little.
And so Bobby had made up a little song, and it was to the tune of Tommy Holt, Super Stud, how in the hell do you brown-nosed Fudd? Well, Fudd was a nickname for one of our assistant coaches, Coach Brock, who we said reminded us of Elmer Fudd. For some reason, I really never understood.
I never got that.
But,
You didn't?
No.
He looked just like Elmer Fudd.
You thought he looked like Elmer?
You thought it looked like Elmer?
Yeah.
But Shelton's voice then sounded good. I'm like, hey, Bobby Shelton can sing. So all these years later, we find out the guy really can sing.
Yeah, Bobby never calls in. Bobby doesn't call in sick. Bobby doesn't show up late. If Bobby says he's gonna be here and do something, he's gonna be there at whatever time he says. And if you're late, you're in trouble. Like there's no excuse, there's no reason, because he feels like a man like him who's got a business, you know, a railroad construction company, and owns a bar and is putting together an album and makes furniture on the side and finds time to cook for people. I don't know when he sleeps. I feel like he might be immortal, I'm not really sure, but he really doesn't slow down, and I think that's probably the drive that keeps him going. And they say once you stop and slow down, you start to lose it. Bobby's gonna outlive all of us. He'll be around forever.
But when I heard he was singing, when I heard he'd started, singing karaoke to start with, I said, that makes sense. He's a friendly guy, he's a fun-loving guy. I can see him singing karaoke, in a bar and having a lot of fun with it, with his big voice. But then when I heard he was actually going to move up in the Nashville area because he was being successful in country singing, really, because I know the man, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. If he gets interested in it and starts to pursue it, he can be successful. And I think he'll be real successful.
I listened to him sing a couple of songs, and I thought, I'm gonna go meet that man. And so I walked up to him. Of course, he's a tall fella. And I walked up and I said, what's your name? And he told me, my name's Bobby. I said, well, Bobby? And I introduced myself as Brutus. And I said, you know what, you sure can sing. I like you. And somehow or another, we just hit it off right there, just as kind of like brothers. And we built on that for several months. And then I went to following him around wherever he was singing karaoke, because he would sing the old country, the Conway Twitty, and things like that. And I really enjoyed listening to him, and we become great friends just through that.
One of the first times that I met Bobby, you can't miss him by any means. I'm not 5 feet tall, and he is ginormous, so when he came walking through the door, he just kind of catches everybody's attention. Very loud, very contagious laugh, just a really funny guy. So he comes up and orders a drink for me, and his personality is one that I was always really drawn to, just those type of outspoken, very boisterous, very humorous people.
Well, he's just a big old lug. He's just a big lug, big old goofball. I love him. He's one of my best friends.
Bobby is a real gentleman first, and he treats every human being the same, because I've watched him, and Bobby is pretty successful in his own life, out in the world working. And but you'd never know that he was as successful as he is, but he's a very humble type person. And I think that is something that's pretty amazing, because he could be a lot of ways, but he chooses to be the old-fashioned, humble, respectful person that he is.
He's always smiling, always happy, and he likes to hug people. So if you're around Bobby, prepare to get hugged.
He's a one-of-a-kind guy. I mean, he really is. I've never seen, he's a dreamer, like I talked about a little bit ago. I mean, he's always got, a big something bigger and better, in mind. He's fortunately, I think he's had because of the railroad business and how well it's done, it's gave him the ability to try new things and do different things. And
never knew that he could sing other than riding down a road in a truck. He might whisper to himself a little song or something, or be singing a song, but when he started all that, I was like, golly, it was funny at first.
He's, I look and there's a little local bar down the road from where we live, and I notice a sign's being changed out there, and I see, and then I seen something on Facebook, such and such place, and it's a place that we stop by every now and then, and so is changing names. And then I look down there and it says Bobby Shelton, new owner, and it just I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go again. He's done found something else that he's passionate about, and he's done went and bought, because I knew he was doing really good singing, at karaoke, and he was really enjoying it and things, and so just so he could have a place to do what he loved to do, he turned it into a business. He went and bought a business, revamped it, turned it into not just strictly karaoke, but put in a karaoke thing there, and then you could just find him down there singing all that, just however many nights a week. But I mean, that's just the type of person he is, that
he's in the deal right now where he's been doing this karaoke singing for a while. Now he's done picked up and thinks he's gonna be a star in Nashville. So there's no telling what next for him.
So found out that we both had a love for karaoke when he would come in on karaoke nights, and we started to sing some duets together. And the levels of our voices really mesh extremely well together. His deep tone, and I have a deeper tone for a female. So found a lot of songs that we had in common that we could just really nail, and just loved it, and kind of took over karaoke pretty much on nights that I worked.
I truly believe that when people hear his music and hear his passion in his music, that they're gonna love it. How could you not? That's like listening to the Beatles back in the 60s. It's just different. It's a different time. And they will absolutely love his music. And if they don't, it's gonna be their loss. But I love it. And there's too many people that do. Yeah, I think you will have a huge following.
The thing about Bobby is his voice is just great. He has an awesome voice, and he's been coming to my shows for about 3.5 years now. And every time he comes, he just overwhelms the crowd. The crowd loves him, and his baritone is phenomenal. I love his voice. He's got such an awesome voice.
We met at a place that he was singing karaoke, and he had just started, but down here, I'm from Texas, so I kind of missed the real country in the local clubs and stuff. And
I don't think he'll bring Conway Twitty back from the grave, but he sings pretty good. He's pretty close like him.
Bobby started doing, I would say 99% country music, which is absolutely not my genre. But that's the persona that he was going with, and the cowboy hat and the Western style shirt, and and he liked the music.
As time went on, he just got better and better, and then you listen to his songs now, and they're like real good. But he's always had, he's always been able to do anything he put his mind to. Never think he'd be a karaoke or anything like that, but he's gotten real good at it, and the longer he does it, the better he gets.
But I think there's something about him when he gets up and he sings that people are drawn to, and I think they feel like he's somebody special, or they feel like he's somebody that's coming, up and coming artist. So they took several opportunities. Young girls, like, early 20s just running up to him like, can we please take a picture with you? You're amazing. And it just tickles him. He loves stuff like that, you know, and so he puts on the show and absolutely adores the attention and really gives back. He gives the same energy that people give him, which I think is really important.
I got to talking to him one day and I gave him a song. I said, just would you learn this song and see if you can, if you can do it, because he's got such a powerful, lovely, deep voice, and I really admire somebody that can, kind of fluctuate with that. And he did Randy Travis's song, It's Just a Matter of Time. And he just slayed it. He nailed it, spot on. The crazy stuff that he does is when he pulls out Creed or Stained or listen to this, and I'm going, really? But I listened, he always is sending me songs. And he'll say, just take a listen and critique it for me and tell me what you think. And he sent one, and I thought, what happened to my country music singer that has turned into Michael Bublé? He's a crooner now. This is not the Bobby Shelton I know. And then I see him with so much more confidence in himself. And that makes me so proud of him.
Yeah, Bobby Shelton is a country name all in itself. He's ready. He was born ready for this. So his personality and his kinetic energy, when he hits that stage, people are going to fall in love with him. There's no way you can't.
There's no stopping to him. He puts his mind to it. He'll get her done. He's always been that way.
When you hear him sing and you can see how much that music means to him. And I think the whole family and all of his friends, we just know he's going to be a great success. And I meant to do this at this time of life. This is absolutely amazing. And I wish from the bottom of my heart that he absolutely gets out of this what he wants, and I believe that he will, because it seems like everything he touches turns into a success.
I hope you go to #1. I'd love to see you have a #1 hit. I think that would kind of defy the laws of Nashville. You don't see a lot of that these days, but I'm really happy for him, and I hope he has a lot of success.
Bobby Shelton has had his hands in a little bit of everything. One thing, though, that was always clear is whatever he set his mind to, he accomplished. We said in the beginning that some people live a life most full. There's no debating that this is the case for Bobby. It isn't just a full and inspired life, but there's zero question he's living his life right on track.